Welcome to the Working Mama podcast, a show that provides real-world tips, tricks, and advice to all working mamas on how they can have a career, family, and hopefully one day break the glass ceiling. Well, hello there, Mama. Welcome back to another episode of the Working Mama podcast. I hope this episode finds you well. This week on the podcast, I'm speaking with Laura Campbell, who is a coffee guzzling, margarita gulping, hashtag mum hack loving Gold Coast mum of two characterful kids. And she's also the founder of Hackerlily. She's got over 20 years commercial marketing, innovation and strategic experience, and she's got a really interesting story to tell, not only of her career and also how motherhood's changed her, but also how she's managed to do this whilst also having a chronic illness. And chronic illnesses aren't something that we generally probably openly talk about, but they certainly experienced by a number of people, and it can severely, really impact the types of careers and also the jobs that they have. Laura really is quite open and honest about how she goes through this and manages her chronic illness. So if you do have a chronic illness, I hope you actually are able to, maybe take some tips out from Laura. But, if you've also got any questions about how she manages particularly, I know that she would be more than happy for you to reach out directly to her. Also, her product Hackerlily is certainly doing really well. So think about it as like a hipster baby carrier. Laura got a really interesting story to tell. So this episode is brought to you by the Working Mama Village, the membership community and support to help you thrive in being able to be a mum as well as have a career. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As always, I would really be a big virtual hug if you'd be able to leave a rating and review, and also share this with any friends or family. So enjoy today's episode. Welcome, Laura. Welcome to the Working Mama podcast. How's your day going so far?
It's going really well, but as we were talking beforehand, a little bit frazzled, probably talking really fast today, but it's been a good day, so thanks.
Sensational. That's mum life, isn't it? There's always a million things, juggling of all the balls. And you certainly have a few balls to juggle. So how would you best describe yourself?
I was thinking about this before, and there's ways you phrase the question as describe yourself, not like, what do you do? And it actually made me think inside myself, like, what else do I have to say? I'm a whole person, as well as a mother, as well as an entrepreneur. So I guess there's kind of like three factions to myself. Firstly, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I'm the founder of a brand called Hackerlily. I'm also a business growth consultant in the creative tech space, and possibly like a bit of an overworker as well. So we'll sort of talk through that today, just how I sort of balance that overworking and wanting to constantly grind. So that's one part of my life. I'm also a mum of two very highly spirited, larger than life children that keep me very busy, but motivated, inspired, and challenged. And I probably describe myself as a not very serious person as well. Like, I love to be bubbly, talkative. I'm a people person. I love human connection. And that's why I love coming on podcasts like this, because I work from my home here on the Gold Coast, my little office all day, every day. So it's really nice with the small biz community to have really down to earth, raw, real chats.
Yeah. And I think it's so important that, we aren't just one thing. We're not just a mum, or we're not just an entrepreneur. We're so many different elements to that. And I know that you also know Emma Lovell, who's also been a previous guest.
Yes.
And her and I actually have had a big chat. Like, she often says about the picture frame, and where, mum is just one element of that piece of the picture puzzle. So that's a big part of it. So Laura, you said that you're an entrepreneur, a business growth consultant. What's been your career journey to date? Because I know that it hasn't also just been in Australia, has it?
Yeah. Okay, I'll try and condense it down to like 1 minute max, because it's a bit lengthy, but I was really fortunate. So when I finished university at Griffith University at Mount Gravatt here in Brisbane, I finished a master's degree, a commerce degree majoring in marketing. And my first job out of uni was with Nova Entertainment as a little sales coordinator down in Sydney. So I worked there for about 5 years, from a sales coordinator to an agency manager to sort of heading up a group of, advertising solutions across the Nova group. So my background's very advertising, marketing, commercial focused. And I think after I've been promoted there a few times, I decided I've got this ancestry visa I can take advantage of. I want to travel. So I hopped across to the UK and I ended up living there for about 11 years. I started working at a startup called Go Viral. And the day I started, I met Ariana Huffington. I got handed a champagne flute and said, "You're now part of AOL Media Group." I thought, what? I actually met her, and honestly, I didn't really know who she was because I'd come from Australia and she's got this big name across Europe. So I didn't really understand how special that moment was. But I really wanted to work in the world of startups. I wanted to wear multiple hats. I wanted the opportunity to travel. And so AOL just wasn't the business that I really sort of ever dreamt of working with, as much of an amazing company that it is. So I found my roots back in the world of media and advertising at Bauer Media Group in the UK. And that's where I met my husband. So it was a really great journey to go on. So James and I have been together for over 10 years now and kept me in London a bit longer. And once I'd finished at Bauer Media, I won like National Salesperson of the Year award after being there a year and a half out of 200 salespeople. And look, after asking for more responsibility, maybe, asking for a bit of a promotion, just nothing happened for a year after winning what I thought was a really great, award and recognition. So I went looking and I'm like, I want to get back to my startup roots. So for the past 9 years, up until last year, I helped to grow a startup creative tech company to scale up and a publicly listed company as well. So a lot of, really great experience working in the world of commercial creative solutions, working with CEOs and CMOs, educating them about alternative ways to source content and to do marketing by engaging global creative communities. So that's what I did. I realized during COVID that I wanted to spend more time with family. I'd been away for 16 years. And for me, COVID, despite all of the tragedy that came from it, it was the silver lining that brought me back to my family and has brought this amazing lifestyle that we've got now on the Gold Coast.
That's so good. So family brought you back home to Australia?
Yeah, it's just, look, my parents, as a lot of people my age, I'm turning 40 this year. As we mentioned before, in a few weeks, I'm turning 40. I had my daughter Elodie in the UK. My parents are getting a bit more elderly and I just wanted to be able to pop over there and have dinner with them, and I just felt that if I let it go any longer, I may have some regrets. And I wanted to come back for a year, be close to them and just see what kind of life it could offer here. And it was really hard because I'm a very career focused person and moving from London back to Brisbane is a real lifestyle and career shift. So I think luckily my company let me come back and keep my role. So that made that part of the journey a lot easier. But I'll be honest, I'm still finding my feet after 11 years over there and 1.5 years here. It's been a journey.
How have you found that transition of going from the UK to Australia? And, has it been like reconnecting and making that transition? Because I know a few people, I've even got a few friends that moved either from Australia or back home, potentially to Germany or vice versa. So how was that transition, I guess, not only for yourself, but also for your family?
Yeah. Well, look, majority of the time I was in London, I was like, I didn't have children. I was living in a city. I was like, having this fantastic lifestyle. So to compare it now to then, it would just never be possible. So we actually own a house in Tooting Bec, which is in the south of London. We had my daughter there. But for the majority of the first year and a bit of her life, we were in lockdown. We were in like a little, Victorian small flat and it was cold. And so compare that to living on the Gold Coast, 5 minutes from the beach, proximity to family. And now I'm starting to find my roots and connections of like, for me, I need connection with other business women or business people because, I can talk about my personal life in the gym and health and fitness, but like I'm driven by career and business and growth and things happening in the market. So it's taken me a while to find my tribe. And I've really just found some absolute crackers in the last year, including Emma Lovell, that I'm like, just so thankful for.
She's an absolute gem.
Yeah.
And how have you found that transition of coming back in? You said that you're career driven and that's a little bit different to say even some women are like, oh, that's not me. So in finding that niche and that audience, how have you found that experience?
Well, it comes first. So I was really fortunate that my company let me come over here. So I had a job when I came across, but I did find that after being with that company for almost 9 years and being so far away from the head base, there was actually a thing that triggered it to me that do my values align with this company? Do the people that I'm working with, does it bring joy? Do I feel collaborative? Is it bringing meaning to my life? And I think I had not necessarily outgrowing that company, but I realized it was bringing me more frustration, than it was joy. So I think that's the one thing, is you need the trigger. And I saw the writing on the wall when I came over here that I really wasn't bonding with some people that they'd employed. And sometimes you have to think, you feel you're the problem. It's not always the case. It could be that the culture's changed and you've been there so long. So I think that was the first thing, that when I went into maternity leave, I thought I need to start putting some things in place to think about the next stage of my career, my development, what that looks like when I come out the other side, because I don't want to be going back to a company with no opportunities, with no connections as well, because I'd gone on mat leave with my son a few months after I arrived back here. So the best thing I did was, when I was on mat leave, sitting there, I've got 4 months, how can I have personal development? How can I build out my skill set? How can I, bring so much more value than what I do already? So creating Hackerlily, the e-commerce brand, like building a brand from scratch, learning about prototyping, learning about building community, learning about socials and content and email and all these things that you do when you're a senior leader managing people. You don't get in the weeds of these things, but they're so important, and so much has changed in 10 years since I was a junior. So I think that for me, I felt it important to have gravitas and to really be able to pivot and change direction. I needed to go back to the basics. So I think I didn't really answer your question there, but I thought it was relevant to share that insight.
I think it's a really interesting insight, and that I often say that when you're going on maternity leave, plan for your return before you actually go on leave. And it's interesting that you did that. What gave you that insight that you needed to have that preparation and explore the other opportunities? Because I know people go to me, I'm like, you're going on leave, it's a bit of a holiday. I'm like, going on mat leave is the furthest thing from a holiday. But also I was the same thing. It's how I've sort of built up working mum, was through my first mat leave. So it was one of those things that I wanted, that mental stimulation. I know it's not for everyone, but interestingly that, you've gone through that personal development and really focused on your skills. So what gave you that? What were the influences that showed you that you need to do that?
Yeah. So one was just actually fundamental. I was a global head of commercial. So a lot of my success came from my connections that I had in the United Kingdom, Europe, and the US. And I'm coming back to a place I've been away from for 11 years. So I can't go and get a job as a head of sales or commercial, because you need relationships. So while I'm bunkering down on maternity leave, I've got to learn new skills to then come out and offer more value, where I can, give more of a complete set of skills to a potential employer as well. But also I really wanted to, I actually working in a startup and a scale up, they often don't invest in your career development. You don't get, all the benefits and the bonuses and the paid training and the courses and the week or two away learning, X, Y, Z. So I always had to invest in my own learning, where I do like EDX online learning courses about behavioral economics, really interesting about how you can simplify the way you communicate things and how that can relate to sales. So I've always been a self-starter and continually wanting to learn different aspects that aren't just traditional marketing, sales, advertising. And I completed Netflix with my daughter in London, which is fantastic. I finished all 13 or 15 episodes of Friends, and I just wanted to do something for me. I wanted to learn something. I grew a company from a startup to scale up as part of a team, but I wanted something to hang my hat on. I knew I had that entrepreneurial spirit, and I was a little bit scared to put myself out there, but you have to get yourself out of your comfort zone, don't you? And I think that's a great experience I've got now. If I become a consultant, go back to full-time employment, or continue growing Hackerlily.
Yeah. So what gave you then that confidence to go, this is going to be actually probably backstep. What was the inspiration for Hackerlily, and how have you then worked that through, I guess, your own confidence and overcoming some of those challenges?
Yeah, I think there's sort of two aspects to Hackerlily, and it's a really strange word. People ask me, what on earth does that mean? And I quite like it because it's a juxtaposition of two words, one meaning hack. So how can you find the shortcuts, the mum hack to certain parenting challenges? And Lily is about femininity and growth, and it comes from a pond, and we transform as mothers when we turn from a woman into a mother. So I really liked that as a brand name. And so I found that with the kids, I wanted to be everything. I wanted to be a great, ambitious career person. I wanted to be a fantastic mother that's forever present. I wanted to be extremely fit and to eat well. And none of that's actually possible. And it's painted in such a way that it's unattainable. So I think Hackerlily's the brand is born from wanting to provide solutions and reality and a look in at real mum life. And on the other hand, I've had health challenges. So I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I
Oh my
was
goodness.
16 years old. For the first 6 years, I was on crutches. I had a disabled parking permit because I had to walk on my tippy toes. My Achilles tendon was swollen. My knee would need to get drained. My knuckles were swollen where it was really hard to bite. And yeah, so I experienced quite an intense juvenile arthritis that then disappeared for 15 years, which was brilliant when I was working at Nova as, 20-something-year-old and in the UK. But when you have a child, it's trauma to your body and it can trigger things to come back. So I experienced flare-ups as well as carpal tunnel. I was carrying my kids thinking, you've got to do the hard work. Like being a parent's hard. You're supposed to have sleepless nights. You're supposed to be in pain, but that's not true. So I wanted to come up with a hack to it. And the flagship product is like a hip seat, strap-free, ergonomic baby carrier that just absorbs the full weight of your child, but allows you to have all those up and down moments and freedom to just go about your day, I guess, and just take the strain off your back, of your arms, of your wrists.
Yeah, and that's so important. And I know a good friend of mine, she's actually through pregnancy, since unfortunately now has chronic arthritis. It's been, she was wondering why is she getting so much pain and experiencing some health issues. And turns out now she's got a chronic illness. And it's like there's some days that she's physically not been able to pick up her kids and certainly things like that can make such a big impact. And you think as a mum, I'm just going to suck it up and things, but you don't have to. There are things around, but I guess and what's been the impact by having a chronic illness such as arthritis? What impact has that had on you as a mum, but also then fulfilling your career ambitions?
Yeah. I think even taking it a step back, like it's just made everyone always talks, I'm a really resilient person, so I can get knocked down, but you get back up again. And I think those 6 years as a teenager, you've just got to work through it. Like it is painful. It is slightly debilitating, but you can still achieve your ambitions and your goals if you set yourself to it. So I think one, it's made me, really resilient, but it really made me think that I really want to enjoy these moments with my children. I don't want to be lost in the pain while I'm holding on to them, like just being fully present. Like sometimes I'm thinking about work, but the last thing I want to be doing is thinking about pain and putting them down when they want to be consoled. Do you know what I mean? So I think it makes you reevaluate what's important and being present for the children and whatever solutions I can come up with to solve that. I think I've gone off track with your question, as I expected. I was trying to work my way back around then, but it just wasn't working.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Just, I guess also then going into like, I actually haven't spoken on the podcast to many people who have experienced with chronic illness and the impacts of that, both from being a mum, but also navigating your career ambitions. Has it impacted you at all or provided the challenges, obviously from a lifting perspective?
I think now as an adult, I mean, it's great. You can work from home, you're working at a laptop screen, like my knuckles and things like that do get quite tight, but it's just about taking walks. So if you can take good breaths, do mindfulness, look after yourself, it's amazing what can happen when you just give yourself a moment to breathe. Interestingly, when I was a teenager, I wanted to become a physiotherapist as well.
Yeah.
And obviously certain things about having to be physical and able to do that. And I just didn't think back on it now. It's like, actually, physiotherapy is an incredible, occupation to have. And I'm so fortunate to have some physiotherapists recommending the hip surfer because of the health benefits. But I can't imagine my life being about physiotherapy. So actually, it's the silver lining of what happens in your life and sends you on the path that you have, that it's, opened up these opportunities for me now. So yeah, I would say it doesn't limit me, but I need to navigate myself around and adapt my goals to be achievable. And those goals aren't any less. It's just having different goals that you can enjoy in different ways.
And you said before that you have this habit of overworking and that. So what does that look like for you? And do you create boundaries between the different businesses and roles and the work that you do? Or do you just like, right, it's all in and it's the whole work-life integration?
Yeah. It's so different now, isn't it, when you're working from home? It's not like you're going to the office and then you're coming back and you're turning off and you're turning on. So I'll be honest, I work till 11. My husband and I both work till 10:30 or 11 most nights, but we've got flexibility through the day. So, we'll spend the morning with the kids. I'll take them I go to a gym where there's a creche, and it's brilliant. I get 2 hours of childcare. I'll go and do an hour and a half of work, looking out over the green pastures of Hope Island.
Yeah.
And then I'm forced to go and do, a 40-minute workout. So it's about creating systems and containers where you can do like really quality work, where you can look after yourself. So we've got a great system now where Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I'll take the kids to the gym and I'll make sure I get that gym work done. So then when I come back, we've got a childminder in the afternoon. So I've got 5 hours where I can just focus on the work, and I'll work at my desk, or I'll go out to a cafe and work, or I'll look, we've got a beautiful marina by us as well. And I'll time block those hours where I'm focusing on specific, topics. So I think it's, as a mum, you're juggling so much, and I've got my consulting work and I've got Hackerlily, that it is calendar blocking what you're doing with your time and how you're managing your priorities is number one. And number two, if you're watching TV, I just can't watch TV by myself anymore. Like, you're scrolling your phone, you've got your laptop there. So I can't and my husband's always like, I'm not going to rewind it again. So
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm forever the computer, generally doing working mum stuff. And even last night I said, but aren't we watching the Netflix series? He goes, but I didn't think you were ready. I said, no. And then he's even asking, what did they just say? I said, this is what they just said. I'm thinking, I've also got the computer happening at the same time.
I did a little post about that the other day. It's like you were on your phone and then you rewind it and then you found yourself on your phone again. So you end up in this repetitive cycle. So I think nighttime, I don't always do the best quality work, but I feel like if I've got a TV show or a series there and I'm doing some social media engagement, or I'm writing an email flow that doesn't involve too much mental labor, but I can't just sit there and watch a show anymore. I've got to give someone my phone, sit on my hands or something like that. But it is something that I know I need to fix. And I know I probably have a slight addiction to my phone. Like when you start a new business and you want to engage community and you want to respond to them. And that's literally how you drive sales, is by having sticky, real, emotional, relatable, empathetic conversations and content and, podcasts like this. That's how you earn a living. So it's like, how can you stop doing that when you love what you're doing anyway?
Yeah, no, it's so good, so good. And so in your journey, as a working mum, have you had like challenges that you've had to overcome, and how have you gone about doing this?
Look, I think the challenges I've had mostly is the high expectations that I've had of myself, and to set realistic expectations that are manageable. So, sometimes you make deadlines that I should have done this, but you're the one making that deadline and you're being really hard on yourself for not doing it. So I think I'm on a journey right now of just going with the seasons. So I had a really great analogy shared with me where it's like 100-meter athlete runners. They don't do a 100-meter run at full pelt all day, every day, right? There's seasons to it. There's tapering to it. And you just got to go with the flow of your body. And if you're creative, get the creative juices flowing. If you're not, lay down on the bed, on your back, get some music going, create a social post or something like that. So I'm going easy on myself. I'm listening to my body. I'm being conscious of if I'm sitting at my computer screen for 45 minutes and with 1,000 tabs open and I've not achieved one thing, take a step away and go for a walk.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to myself and my body so that I can be really productive. So ultimately I can spend more time with the kids and hopefully make some more money just by being more effective.
Yeah, no, so good. No, I know that all too much. And have there been some prizes for you? So you've said that you're very career driven. What was the impact on your career ambitions and your career outlook when you had kids?
I think most people would agree with me that when you're younger in your work life, you'll do anything to please people. And then you start getting a little bit older and you can see certain people or things that your values don't align with. So I think one thing when you become a mum is you don't tolerate numpties very well.
Yeah.
So you decide, I only want to work with good people, kind people, collaborative people, and I want to surround myself with positive people as well. So I think as a mum, I realize I don't need to take every job. I don't need to say yes to something. I just want to surround myself with positivity, and then great things and opportunities will come from that, I think. And I think that's one of the biggest things. It's like less time wastage, less meetings, just being more organized. And I think that, it's just, as a mum, you're so resourceful, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I think I can see how I am with my kids is now how I work it into my day-to-day work life. And I really think I'm a more effective person now than pre-kids. I don't know what I was doing, like standing by the water cooler or just chatting with my friends in the office, not getting nearly as much work done.
Yeah, I often say, like, working mums are the most productive in any workplace because they've generally got limited time. They know they've got to get their stuff done. And I'm the same. When I look back into my corporate job when I was working 5 days a week, I'm like, geez, a lot of fat in the time. And I used to have a lot of coffees of like internal networking. But it's interesting how much extra time there was in the week. And now I'm like, no, I focus. This is what it is. And it's interesting how that's changed. Has your career ambition, so you've said that you've gone from like a startup scale up and then it's a listed company and now you've gone to more consulting. Is that where you saw yourself before you had kids? And are you now, like, I guess your career ambitions have definitely, have changed. And also then that entrepreneurial spirit has come out a lot more.
Yeah, totally. So I think I used to be, and it's not that I was like, I knew I was, but I must have been fixated on like, it's your job title, it's your promotion. I've got to get promoted every year or I'll be disappointed. And I think that's just something that you grow up and it becomes instilled with you when you're in the corporate workplace, right? And I think now that coming back is, I don't care about the titles as much, but the fact that I've got this small business now, that has really changed my whole approach to what I want to do. I would love to build my own business. I want that flexible work time. I want more time with my children to drop them off at childcare and to pick them up. But I really love human connection, and running your own business, it can be very lonely. You're just doing lots of emails, you're doing things yourself. So I see it really as a hybrid. I'd love to grow Hackerlily, but I'd love to collaborate and support other businesses. I would love to build an extension of Hackerlily, which is about building a empowered community of mums in business and how we can support each other as well. So I think I'm at the beginning of my journey. I have no idea where it's going to go. I've got so many ideas in my head, but I'm a big believer in you just put one foot forward. You don't know where the destination is, but as long as you just keep following your intuition, where you're seeing the positive feedback, and I'll just roll from there. But yeah, it's still really early days, to be honest.
And have there been many things along your journey, particularly as a working mum, that surprised you? Or is it just like what you said, forming Hackerlily, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm just going to see where this goes?
Yeah. I think, look, I think I've really now, when you're in the world of corporate, so whilst I was with a startup and a scale up, I worked a lot with corporate. So I was working a lot with like, Unilever, Amazon, Netflix, and I was very much in that world. And when you're operating that world, you don't understand the underbelly of the small business community. Like all those mum and pup and, women-owned brands, you just don't always see them until you get immersed in that world. And I think that there's two things that I'm so thankful for. One is the small business community, the women I've met through the different, we're in like, One Roof and Like-Minded Bitches and Mums and Co. and all of these other phenomenal communities. That's been a surprise to me that they exist, that women are so supportive for each other. They'll go out of their way for each other. And also the power of building my own community for Hackerlily. Like I was really struggling to launch with some business fundamentals that I needed to get in place. And everything was going against me with COVID. And it was my that little community I built up a year and a half before launch of mums in business, but just also mums that just like encouraged me on. They didn't know me. They'd never met me before, but they're like, you've got this, girl. Like if you need any tips, if you need us to answer surveys, I'll share a story. I'll share a post. Like it's just honestly blown away that I never knew it existed.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got a foot in both camps, the corporate world and then the small business world. And I have to say, my observation of small business, as you said, women are like, people are actually willing to bend over backwards and help you and do anything for you. And then in corporate, they won't start talking to you until you pay a bill or you show some money or things like that. It's so funny that the polar opposites between corporate and small business in terms of collaboration, support, helping one another. They couldn't be further apart. And it's funny because I've got a foot in both camps and it's so different.
It really is. There's actually one example. I cried on a phone call with a girl from one of the, are you in One Roof?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So I don't think I've made it yet, but I made it through several rounds of Shark Tank. And at the very beginning of it, I'm like, you need to create a written submission and a script, and then you need to film it. And I just said, I've never done this before. Like, what do I have in the script like to even have a chance of it? And I put a little message out on One Roof saying, can someone just read my script, give me feedback if it's bad? Like, I don't expect you to do the work, but just give me some hints. And Jackie in the group, she's like a whisperer for CEOs, and she helps people present these big speaker sessions. She jumped on a call with me. I'm like, look, let's just do 5-10 minutes. Have a look over it. She's like, no, let's knuckle down. We're going to spend an hour and a half. We're going to go through every line of your script. And because she'd been following me for months, she knew my tone, she knew my voice. She would be charging, I don't know what to people, but she really stepped out to support and lift me up during like an overwhelming point, that I was at. So I'll just honest. And I cried on the call after we'd done it. I'm like, that was so generous. And then that's a really large chunk of your time to spend on someone that you'd never met before.
Yeah, that's huge. But if you were in corporate, you would not get that at all.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
so different. So different. So is there anything else you want to just share, Laura, in terms of your journey, any advice or tips or anything else along the way that you'd like to impart your wisdom on the Working Mama podcast community?
Well, what I would say is just coming from creating my own business while on maternity leave and in a point where I didn't know what I wanted to do, if I wanted to stay with my job, like like if you've got an idea in your head, you've got a passion project, you want to create something, like as a mum, go and do it, because you'll really find a tribe of people who are positive. They'll lift you up. If you don't know where you're going or what you'll do, there's so many groups and women who will support you, who will lift you up. And a lot of the things that stops women from doing it is just the fear of failure. It's the fear of not knowing what to do. And there's so many solutions and communities and courses out there. And I was lacking connection. I was feeling isolated, lonely. And it honestly just changed my last year and a half to have connection, to have a business I was passionate about, and to now have flexibility. So my message is, don't look for perfection. Take that first step and the rest will figure itself out.
Oh, sensational. I love it.
And in a long-winded kind of way.
Yeah, but it's also what we all need. And so, like, Laura, what do you do to fill your cup?
What do I do to fill my cup? One is obviously family time, just like having very present family time by putting away the phone. I don't do it enough, but it's something I'm starting to do a little bit more of. And the second thing is just fitness and exercise. I'm potentially quite an intolerable person if I don't exercise 3 or 4 times a week. So I need that 30 or 40 minutes of doing weights or jumping on the treadmill just to get my body pumping so I don't feel bloated. It's amazing if you feel bloated that it can have a real impact on your confidence. I also fill my cup by putting on makeup every now and then when I jump on podcasts like this. I miss that from going to work and getting dressed up and, you wear your gym jams around home sometimes. So I fill my cup just by I feel I look good, I feel good, and I can turn up a lot more.
Oh, sensational. I love it. Yeah. Essentially, I only just went for a run on the weekend, but it's funny. I said to I just need to go. And even this morning, I was all dressed to go, and then it started pouring with rain. And I'm like, damn, like I really want to, like, I feel myself when I'm out there running. It makes such a difference. Healthy mind, healthy body, and everything else.
Totally. Makes you more focused.
Now, Laura, how can people connect with you?
Amazing. So come say hi and connect on LinkedIn. So just search Laura Campbell. I think it's Laura Campbell 83. Jump on over to Instagram with Hackerlily, which is just _ Hackerlily, Hackerlily. And if you've got any questions or you'd like to learn about how I, took my first steps into creating the startup, because it's really hard if you don't know what the first steps are, feel free to reach out. I'd really love to give my love back to the universe from the support that I've received myself. So, yeah.
Sensational. Thank you so much, Laura, for this chat, and best of luck. I can't wait to see where yourself and also Hackerlily keep, the trajectory keeps going up. So congratulations on everything that you have achieved so far. Keep the momentum up, keep the confidence up, and best wishes for the future.
Oh, thank you. What a lovely sign off. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Working Mama podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast catcher. Please also feel free to contact me on any of the Working Mama social channels. Remember, Mama is MUMMA, or website www.workingmama.com.au. I would appreciate you to share this podcast with friends and colleagues, especially those that are parents managing the juggle. And I would really appreciate if you had to take the time out to leave a review of the podcast. Thank you, and see you next time. Have a great week.